Good evening and thanks for joining us. The future of Ukraine hangs in the balance tonight. The parliament in Crimea, backed by Russia, has voted to hold a referendum to break away from Ukraine and join Russia. It's being widely condemned.
The proposed referendum on the future of Crimea would violate the Ukrainian constitution and violate international law.
Canada, too, says it will not recognize a referendum held in a region under illegal military occupation. Some sanctions and travel restrictions were imposed today, but on the ground in Crimea, the Russians are in charge. They've outgunned Ukraine, and it appears they're outmaneuvering the West. Our Tom Clark is in the Ukraine capital tonight.
Thanks, Donna. Well, if there was any hope that things were about to get better here soon, the news today hit like a sledgehammer. Everybody knows that the referendum will probably pass, knows that it is going to escalate the danger here, and everybody assumes that Vladimir Putin was behind the whole thing. In Independence Square, just asking about the Crimean referendum unleashes a visceral hatred of Putin and the Russians. Look at us, she says. She's Russian, I'm Ukrainian. We're friends. Putin is just trying to provoke a fight. I hate him. This is all Putin's doing, he says. The West has signed treaties with us. It has a duty to stop this. Most people here may be outraged by the referendum. In fact, everybody I spoke to today said that they thought it was illegal and unconstitutional. But nobody underestimates what it means. They all know that this could light the fuse to war. But the news was received somewhat differently in Crimea. That's where we find Global's Paul Johnson again tonight. Paul?
Tom. Once again, events across the Crimean Peninsula show that the pro-Moscow forces here seem to be clearly in the driving seat, setting the agenda, with the latest being this extraordinary move by the Crimean parliament. The ties that bind, flying the flag of the old USSR outside the Crimean parliament today, a symbol of Moscow's power at its greatest, and a memory that inspires them now. With 58% of the Crimean Peninsula's residents being Russian speakers, it is presumed that a referendum has an excellent chance of passing. But is 10 days' time enough to hold a fair and legitimate vote? This city councilman tells us, sure, people here have been struggling with this question for decades and have had plenty of time to think about it.
My preference is to be a part of Russia.
Standing guard outside a government building today, we met Nikolai and a group of young men, construction workers and drivers, who say they need to protect their city from violent radicals they believe are in league with the new regime in Kiev. They've been safe, but they're worried about what they've seen in the media.
I saw a TV and looking in internet for some information.
But in a time of instability here, it's hard to tell fact from fiction. Filming these Communist Party members today, an angry man approached us saying the Western media were spreading lies and that Canada had funded the revolution in Kiev. Another strange angle in Ukraine's dangerous mix of opinion and allegiance. Elsewhere in Ukraine, the eastern city of Donetsk was another flashpoint today as police struggled to clear hundreds of pro-Russia demonstrators from a government building they stormed Wednesday. That city has seen a back-and-forth seesaw of pro-Russia and pro-Kiev groups taking over various buildings in the last couple of days. So think of the enormous task that the Crimean parliament here has brought before the people in this region. In Canada, we know a bit about referendums like this. The UK is poised to go through one. These things take months and years to play out in advanced democracies. They're trying to do this within 10 days. And to try to get a result that the international community is going to respect. That's going to be tough. Also today, we heard a group of international observers who were trying to get into the Crimean Peninsula to look at the situation here were turned back at the border by gangs of armed men. They weren't hurt, and they say they'll try to make it back in later. Tom?
Okay, thanks, Paul. Paul Johnson in Crimea tonight. Well, the referendum has been condemned outside of Ukraine as well. Today, Prime Minister Stephen Harper says that Canada will not be recognizing the outcome of this vote, and there were similar statements in Europe. Ukraine's interim Prime Minister, Arseniy Yatsenyuk, came to Brussels today as the guest of the European Leaders Summit. He lambasted the Crimean move.
This is illegitimate decision. And this so-called referendum has no legal grounds at all. Crimea was, is, and will be an integral part of Ukraine.
Europe matters in this crisis. It is Russia's fourth largest trading partner, and economic sanctions matter. For starters, the Europeans today froze the bank accounts and assets of deposed Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, as well as 18 of his cohorts. But it didn't end there.
And if Russia does not rapidly engage in direct talks with the Ukrainian government to find a solution to this crisis, we have been clear in the statement today that we will go further. We have today tasked the European Commission to start work on additional measures, including travel bans and asset freezes.
The U.S. has also tightened travel for certain Russian officials and calls the referendum illegal. President Obama said that Russia, however, must be allowed to keep its military bases in Crimea, but that Crimea must belong to Ukraine.
In 2014, we are well beyond the days when borders can be redrawn over the heads of democratic leaders.
It should be remembered that this is a country that is still in the midst of a revolution, is facing an invasion on its southern border, with an economy that is in near collapse. The odds are not in their favor. In fact, the outcome isn't even in their hands, but so far, despair is not yet part of this landscape. Donna?
All right, Tom Clark in Kiev, thank you.